Good morning, students. Hope you all are doing good. Let's start our first history chapter called When, Where, and How. All things change with time, and we can learn a lot from looking at how ancient people lived. Historians learn about history from old coins, inscriptions, styles of architecture, and handwritten records. Handwritten records called manuscripts. When people move between countries or continents, they take their lifestyles and ideas to new places. This is how, over time, old religions, sciences, cultures, and tradition changed and became new ones. It is easy to understand history if we divide the past into large parts called periods that have many things in common. Indian history is divided into three parts called ancient history, medieval history, and modern history. Ancient history you already studied in your last class, your sixth standard, about the early human beings and the early dynasties. In this class we are going to deal with medieval history. Medieval history is divided into two parts called early history and later history. Early medieval history and later medieval history. Early medieval history is from 8th to 12th century, and later medieval history is from 13th to 18th century. Early medieval period we study about, in the early medieval period we study about Cholas, Palas, Rashtrakuta and Rajputs as powerful dynasty. And in the later medieval period we study about Turks, Afghans and Mughals. Indian For the purpose of this study, we have to limit ourselves to the territory of India. But India itself underwent a lot of change in terms of territory and understanding. In those days, there were no surveyed maps. People used to tell direction by looking at celestial bodies and then the compasses. The measuring instruments were crude, and the knowledge about the shape, size, direction, elevation, etc. were not detailed. Let us first see how the territory of India was defined and known to exist in those days. To understand what area we are going to talk about, let us first understand about our Indian subcontinent. Our Indian subcontinent, it extends from Afghanistan to Myanmar. So the extension of Indian subcontinent is from the uh, Afghanistan to Myanmar. Northern side covered by mountains, and on south are the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea. So the northern side is covered by the great mountain, and south you can see it's covered with the two seas called Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. This isolated mass is known as Indian subcontinent. How India got its name? In the past, India has been known by different names by different people at various times. One of the early is Sapta Sindhu. Sapta Sindhu means seven rivers. Sapta means seven and Sindhu is river. Seven rivers, namely Indus, Kabul, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias and Satluj. These were the seven rivers which was surrounded by the regions. The H in Persia is similar to the S in Sanskrit, and thus the people of this region came to be known as Hindu from the word Sindhu. The Persian people, they were pronouncing S as H. That's why they have changed the name from Sindhu to Hindu. Um, the second one is Bharatas or the Bharatvarsha. In the Rig Veda, there is a reference of the king named Bharat, and he is said to have conquered a huge area, and the region was named after him as Bharats or Bharat Varsha. So, first one is Sapta Sindhu, second one is Bharat Varsha, third is Hindustan. Hindustan, the land of the east of Indus, came to be called Hindustan by the Persians and Arab. It is also found in the writing of Minhaj-e-Siraj, a chronicler of the 13th century. He describes it as the land between the Ganga and Yamuna. He used it in a political sense for lands which were part of the Delhi Sultanate. Then the fourth one is India. India came to English usage from the 17th century onwards, and it is thought due to the influence of the Latin or Spanish. The modern India or the Bharat is confined to the territory which is part of the sovereign nation post its independence from British rule. Having seen the changes of the name of India, you would have realized how names and interpretation changes as per time and understanding of writings and records of the past. Let us look at the sources of history and we learn from them. And what we learn from them? Sources of history. What do you mean by source? A source is something which gives the information. So sources of history means information which we collect from the various things, various sources. Buildings or monuments. In the medieval times, different types of buildings like temples, mosques, forts, tombs, palaces were constructed. It tells us about the architecture and social, economic and political life of the period in which they were constructed. So the first one is forts and palaces. Red Fort, Agra Fort, Gwalior Fort, palaces at Jaipur and Jaisalmer. You can see the picture of the different palaces and the forts. Then important mosque, Jama Masjid and the Moti Masjid. These were the important mosque. Both of them are located in Delhi, Moti Masjid as well as the Jama Masjid. Then temples, various important temples like Brihadeshwara temple at Tanjore, Khajuraho in Madhya Pradesh, Sun temple at Konark, Golden temple in Amritsar. All these temples were main source of information about our past. You can see the pictures about the different temples. Brihadeshwara temple, it's located at Tanjore in Tamil Nadu itself, and it was built by the great Cholan king. Then we have tombs. Tombs are Humayun's tomb, Taj Mahal and Safdarjung tombs. Then what is tomb? Tomb is a building which constructed in the remembrance of someone. So those buildings or those monuments were called as tombs. Here you can see the two pictures. One is Taj Mahal and another one is Humayun's tomb. The other monuments are Victory Tower, Char Minar, Qutub Minar. Minar means tower. Coins. Coins also has the great source. It's one of the important source of history. Coins were issued by various rulers which depict the date at times and show the picture of the ruler. Metals used in these coins tell us about the economic state of the kingdom. Like gold coins, copper coins and silver coins. These were issued by the various kings and kingdoms, and as per their economic status they were issuing the coins. Biographies and autobiographies. Biographies, you can see the difference between biography and autobiography. Biography is something which is written by somebody else, and autobiography is the story of the person's life written by that person itself. So you can see auto means writing by your own self, and biography is written by somebody else about your life. Example, Aine Akbari written by Abu Fazl and Prithviraj Raso written by Chand Bardai. An autobiography Tujhkai Jahangir written by Jahangir about Jahangir's life, and Babarnama written by Babar. So these were the following biographies and autobiographies, and these are the of the different rulers, and these biographies and autobiographies given an insight into the ruler's life and the social, economic and political life during that period. Then we have travelogues. Travelogues, a number of foreign travelers visited India during medieval times and have left an account of what they observed. So the travelers, the different travelers, the foreigners, they came from their own country, and whatever they have observed about India, they have left as an account. They have left as an information, as a source to study about the history. Example, Ibn Battuta, he wrote about Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Marco Polo about South India, Al-Biruni about Balban, and Abdul Razak about the Vijayanagara kingdom. So these were the foreigners who came from the distant land, and they have written about the following kingdoms or following kings. Ibn Battuta, he wrote about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Marco Polo, he wrote about South India. Al-Biruni about Balban, and Abdul Razak, he wrote about Vijayanagar Empire. They were all travelers. So travelogue is something, a piece of information which was written by travelers. Paintings and artifacts. Artifacts, what's the meaning of artifacts? An object made by person. So all these painting and artifacts, it tell us about the cultural aspects of the medieval times. Paintings, artifacts and descriptions of music and cultural aspects tell us about the culture of the medieval times. They were all important because they were telling us about the cultural tradition of about the past. You can see here the different artifacts, the different tools or the different things which are made by the people, and here you can see a painting of Akbar's court. Let us see why there are problems in interpreting the past. Problem faced by historians to interpret the past. First is quality of source. The following aspects affected the quality of sources. First one is no printing machines. There were no printing machines, so that's why whatever they were writing, it was handwritten. Then second is no common language exists. There were no common languages. Everyone, they were having their own individual language. Then simple and basic tools. The materials used for inscriptions were derived from stones, metals, parchments, barks and paper. So they were all simple and basic tools. They were not using any scientific or technological tools which help them to prevail for the longer period of time. Then faded, eroded and faded. With time, they have eroded in quality and faded in color. The color is faded, and the quality of the manuscripts also, they were the written handscripts, it was faded. So it is impossible, or they were finding to read or to interpret the text properly. Then variation in the versions available. As copying was not with the help of carbon paper or reprints, there are variation in the versions available at different places. As there were no copying or no reprints, no printing machines was there, so everyone is having their own individual different interpretation about the past. Then this is the first problem which was faced by the historians, that is quality of source. The next one is interpretation of source. Interpretation means understanding of source. It is an extremely difficult task to understand a script which is not currently in use. The thing which is not currently in use, it is just impossible to understand. Even more difficult to understand words and phrases which are not in use in modern languages. We are finding it difficult to read and to understand which the language which we does not aware of. As all the writings were manuscripts, they were all handwritten. It is something like reading or something like reading from somebody's handwritten work. If some handwriting is poor or not clear, then we cannot able to understand it properly. So that's why as all the writings were manuscripts handwritten, they were finding difficult to understand what they were trying to convey. Then difference in copies and different versions give out conflict information. As there were different in copies and versions were different, so they were giving a conflict information. So which is true and which is false, they it is difficult to understand. Then at that time, no calendar, clocks or dates and timings. All these are vague, not accurate. They were not accurate. The dates and timings were not clear. The places and their identity are not clear, as the maps were poor and not accurate. Maps are not accurate and poor. That's why the places we cannot able to identify it or locate it properly. So these two were the problems faced by the historian. First is quality of source, then second is interpretation of sources, means understanding of sources. Then highlights of the medieval period in India. What were the highlights? Growth of settlement. As the settlement grew in size, as population grew in numbers. Settlement grew in size as population. When population increased, as well as same it affects in the settlement. If population increase, the settlement also increases. Trends changed. Technology started growing, and people started traveling around in the search of food and shelter. Then this caused cutting down of jungles and growth in agriculture. Many tribals also started mixing with the settled people in towns and villages. This helped the mix of tradition and culture. People from different settlement in different regions traveled to other regions, saw different culture, saw different crops pattern, and learned new methods. This led to the technological advancement, and trade between settlement also developed. So all these because of the growth of settlement, the technological advancement, and the trade between the settlements also developed. So now they were started trading their goods between the two settled regions. Development of travel and trade. Traveling to distant places, and travelers from Persia, China, Arabia, and other distant foreign lands started visiting this region to explore and understand the people. As the Indian people or the native people, they have started traveling to different regions so that they can cope up with cope up with their new styles. They can understand their style, their way of living, and adjust with those people. Same, the foreign peoples or the foreign land people or the distant land places, they were started traveling to our country, and they have started visiting this region to explore and understand the people and also about the geographical features, which help to develop trade and exchange of items from different regions. These voyages and travelers help to develop trade and exchange of items from different regions of far-flung areas. The message of the travel of prosperity in this region traveled wide and trade increased. So, the highlights of the medieval period is growth of settlement and development of travel and trade. So in this chapter, you studied about how India got its name, the different sources of history are buildings or monuments, coins, biographies and autobiographies and travelogues, paintings and artifacts. Then problem faced by historians are quality of source and interpretation of sources. Then highlights of the medieval period in India. Growth of settlement and development of travel and